How's it going, everyone? AkibanaZero here, and I'm back with another episode of getting into BlazBlue Crosstag Battle. In this episode, I'm going to be teaching you something that I believe is extremely important before I start diving into other more important things, and that specifically is fighting game terminology. Specifically, terminology that applies to anime fighters, or air dashers, as they're known. If you're a veteran fighting game player, or you've dabbled a little bit in fighting games, this might seem like a video that's a little bit, boring, or not something that, you're not going to get a lot out of it. But the main idea here is I found prudent that, we familiarize ourselves a little bit with the lingo, because there are a few things that, fighting game players say and they talk about a lot in community, so it's important to have a basic understanding of that before diving into other deeper concepts. Right, so for the purposes of this video, I'm going to be using BlazBlue Central Fiction's training mode to show you off this terminology. Yeah, so I'm going to start off with a few disclaimers. First of all, I am not going to be diving too much into the topic of frames, even though you're going to hear me say this word every now and then, frames. The main idea I want you to understand for now about frames is that that basically refers to frames of animation. This is a 2D fighting game, which means everything runs in frames of animation. You see, this is a fast move, this is a slower move. This takes fewer frames than this one to come out, activate, and return. So that is the only idea I want you to understand about frames for now. In a later video in the series, I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into frames, because they are a bit of an important concept, especially once you reach a bit of an intermediate level of gameplay in fighting games. Right, another thing I'd like to mention is that there are some terms that are used in crossover games, which BlazBlue Crosstag Battle is going to be one of them, but I am not going to be talking about those because it depends on the crossover game itself. So I'm not going to try and confuse you with any of that. I'm just going to stick to some very fundamental terminology here and get that going. So, right, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I want you guys to understand is fighting game notation. Anime fighting game notation specifically, because some other fighting games use different notation. So if you go online, to an outlet like Dustloop, or a subreddit for BlazBlue or any other anime fighter, you might see some combos or moves being shown off like this, as you can see now on the screen. So this is a bunch of numbers and letters, and you're all thinking like, what the heck is this? Right, so the way that we use that we talk about notation in anime fighters is we use a numerical keypad as our guide. And each number indicates a position for your stick. So as you can see here on the screen, I'm holding down over here. This is what would be position 2 on the numerical keypad. 1, 2, 3. If I keep it in the middle like this, that is position 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be right over there. So if you see something like this, 5A, that means that I am not moving the stick in any direction, I'm just keeping it neutral. I'm hitting the button A, which would basically be this attack for Ragna over here. Okay, so that's what basically it means. If you see something along the lines of 2, 3, and 6, that would indicate a quarter circle forward motion, which is a typical motion for a special move. Does Ragna have any? Yeah, he does. He's got this one, quarter circle forward, and D, that would be that. Right, now let's talk about the letters themselves. So we've got letter A, and this would be the main light attack. B, meaning the mid attack, and C being the high attack in BlazBlue Central Fiction specifically. D is the drive button in BlazBlue Crosstag Battle, in BlazBlue Central Fiction, but in Crosstag Battle, these could be completely different. But anyway, A, B, C, D typically refers to the buttons for your normal attacks, right? And that's basically what notation looks like. If you see in combo strings notation, you're going to see like a greater than symbol, and that indicates that one move combos into the next move, or chains into the next move. But we'll get into that, what that means, a little bit later. Okay, now let's move on to the most fundamental of concepts in terminology in fighting games, that is normal attacks, normal moves, or just simply normals. And normals are basically these moves. As you see, I'm just holding in position 5 now, and I'm pressing these buttons, and Ragnar is doing his moves. So these are normal moves. They can be done crouching, like this. Crouching would be when I'm holding position 2, or 1, or 3, like this. And doing attacks, they are like these, they're crouching attacks. And then we've got, of course, they can be done in the air, jumping, like this. As you can see, all the moves can be done somehow in the air, and they have different properties, of course. These are normal attacks, right? Following up from normal attacks, we've got command normals. And command normals are done when you're holding a direction, like forward, and you press a button. So you see, remember, standing A, or 5A for Ragnar is this, but if I hold forward in A, he does this little uppercut thing. That is his command normal over there. And then, of course, B was this nice long-range poke over here. And forward B does this axe kick style over here. And of course, C does this. Normal C does this, but a forward C would do that. These are command normals. Drive buttons have different properties depending on what direction you're holding. Forward D would do this, whereas normal D would do that. Just a quick note on the drive button, for those of you interested in playing BlazBlue Central Fiction. The drive button is for every character is different, and it's basically, the idea behind it is that it's your character's main mechanics. Like for Ragnar, it would be, you see like he's getting these sparks coming back, and it means he's getting life back. That is his drive mechanic, essentially. Alright, so yeah, that's gonna do it with normals and command normals. Now let's move on to the next one, specials. Specials are the attacks that are done with more complex button notation. So if you do a quarter circle back and A with Ragnar, he does this attack, which actually can be followed up by another button. Can it? Come on. I remember. Oh, shoot. Anyway, then you've got like moves like this, moves like this. Yeah, anyway. So yeah, I'm not really particularly good at playing Ragnar, but he's like the basic of basic characters in the game, so I'm using him as an example. Right, so specials can be done quarter circle back, quarter circle forward. They can be done forward and like a small quarter circle forward motion to do a move like this, right? So specials are divided into different types. Like this is just a charging special over here. This you could say is a projectile-ish type of attack. Like as you can see, it's a forward moving hitbox that goes forward towards the opponent without me needing to be very close to him or anything. There are plenty of different types of projectiles. This one doesn't go particularly far, but Jin, for example, over here, my training dummy, can do a special that goes all the way across the screen. That would be a projectile as well. Then we got moves like this one. These uppercut style moves. These are usually done with forward quarter circle forward motion like that. As you can see, it would be a 6-2-3 motion like that, leading into this uppercut style move. These are what we call DPs, or dragon punches. And the reason they're called that is because they take their namesake from Ryu from Street Fighter, who has the Shoryuken. That's why sometimes these moves could also be known as SRKs or Shoryuken moves. And one of their main properties is to be used to stop people from coming against you in the air, but we'll talk about that in a moment. So these are specials. These are basically moves that are done with more complex button presses like that. Right. There. Some of them have follow-ups as well. Where it was Ragnar's follow-up, I haven't played Ragnar in a very long time. Anyway, moving on. Let's move on to the next thing, and that is supers. And the reason we have supers is basically to do a lot of damage. An example of a super would be this. Ragnar's Carnage Scissors. As you can see, that bar on the bottom left was used, so you need a certain amount of bar to do supers, typically in fighting games. Keep in mind also, another disclaimer is that this UI may not have anything to do with BlazBlue Crosstag Battle whatsoever, but bar will definitely be a part of the game, super bar or EX bar or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, that's what supers are usually dependent on. There's also another super, like some supers are done with a half circle motion like this, and then followed by a forward, and that would be the motion for Carnage Scissors. Like that. And then there are others that can be either done with 2 quarter circle forward motions like this. What was... Okay. What was that? Okay. Alright, 2 quarter circle forward, 2 quarter circle back motions, and you get this super. So that's 2 supers for Ragna. There are also astral finishers in the game, but we're not going to go into that because that's a unique mechanic for BlazBlue. So unless they announce it for BBCTB, I'm not going to get into that. Right, so that's going to do it with attacks in general. So you learned your normals, you learned about command normals, and you learned about specials, and you learned about supers. So that's going to do it for that. Let's talk about defense now. In fighting games, the most common way to defend is to block. And blocking is done by either holding back or holding down back like this. So either position 1 or position, no, one, not position 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, position 4 or position 6, depending on where you're standing in the screen. So if you're standing here, you need to hold back this way or down back this way to block. And this is blocking or guarding. Simple as that. BlazBlue has this unique mechanic, which also exists in Guilty Gear, Barrier, which is done by holding down back and holding 2 attack buttons like this. It basically pushes back the opponent more when they're hitting you, so it creates a little bit more space. But again, we're not sure if this is going to be a mechanic in BBCTB, so just keep it in your mind. That's it. Right, so that's blocking. That's one defensive technique, and the most common one you're going to be using. Now, if your opponent decides that they want to jump in on you a lot, like this, or maybe like this, or maybe they want to jump in on you like that. So Jin is jumping in on me like this. How can I stop him from jumping in on me? Alright. So he's jumping in on me. I could block like that, or I could use a DP. Or I could also use this. That forward A button that we were talking about earlier, like that. So this stopping of somebody jumping in on you like that with a move is called anti-airing, or AA, anti-air. This is also a very important thing to learn, because a lot of players, when they first start playing the game, these kinds of games, they try to come in at you from the air. And because anime fighters also include a dash in the air, which we'll talk about later, anti-airing becomes a lot more important and can lead up to more damage. Like, for example, if he's coming in at me now, you can see I could potentially start a combo from here, like the... Wait, let me see if I can get something better than that. Nah, never mind, I suck. That's okay, that's not the point over here. So yeah, that's anti-airing. You can either block, anti-air, and there's another defensive thing we'll talk about, but first we need to talk about throws. Now, throwing in the game is done by... Whoops, wrong button. I don't need that. So, throwing in this game, we need to press B and C together. This depends on the game, so maybe this might be different in BBCTV, but usually in fighting games these days, you press... There are 2 buttons that are assigned to a throw. Now, a throw can be done if you just have 5 on your stick or D-pad and you press the 2 buttons, you'll get a forward throw. But if you hold back and the 2 buttons, you get a back throw. Right, so maybe if in this case, if I'm like here and I manage to get a throw, I might want to throw Jin into the corner, and there I have advantage because he can't go any further back at all. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. Right, so when somebody is trying to throw you, you have a way to defend as well. I'll demonstrate that once I record this a couple of times. Yep. Wait, didn't I record it? Okay, there we go. Alright, so we've recorded that. Let's make Jin throw us. Now he's coming at us. So what did I do here? Is I hit the exact same buttons at the right time. Did you see that little exclamation point over there? That means that indicates my window of opportunity to break the throw. But if I'm too late, See, it was too late there. He is able to throw me. So this is what we call a throw break or a throw tech. So, or teching. There's like many different, there are several different, you know, terminologies for that. Throw breaking, throw teching, or just teching. Right. So that's throwing. And this is where I want to kind of highlight this, just very briefly, something about fighting games. That fighting games are kind of a little bit like a game of rock, paper, scissors. So this is a strike. Any of these moves, anything I'm doing here, anything that hits the opponent, like that is what we call a strike. Strike is usually beaten by blocking. So by blocking a move, you beat a strike. A block is typically beaten. Let's make Jin just block low here. Good. Right, so he's blocking low. To stop the block, to get through the block, we use a throw. So you see here, he's blocking. He's continuously blocking. I need to find a way to break his guard. One way to do that is with a throw. Like that. Now, throws are typically beaten by strikes. But of course, this all has to do with frames of animation. So if the throw came out earlier, then the strike will be beaten. But typically, if they were both to happen at the same time, a strike would usually win. So that is the trinity of fighting games. That would be the strike, block beats strike, strike beats throw, throw beats block. So that's the three. That's the rock, paper, scissors you need to be aware of in fighting games like this. Okay, let's move on to movement now. When I'm moving Ragna like this back and forth without anything else, this is basically walking. We just call it to walk. Sometimes you'll hear a term like this, micro walk, and this might have something to do with, you know, performing combos, like doing a micro walk, which means to just tap forward a little bit. But generally, this is the general term is walking back and forth like that. Now, in BlazBlue, if we tap back twice, we get this little dash back thing, which helps us build, make a little bit of room for ourselves a lot faster than just walking, right? Like that. So walking is like this, but dashing, see, we cover a lot more ground faster. Back dashing can also happen in the air, like this. So we're in the air, tap back twice, and we get a back dash. Right now, for the in BlazBlue, if you tap forward twice and you hold it, you get this little run over here, this run. And run is pretty good for closing the distance fast to start your offense very nicely, yeah. If you just double tap and let go, you get this the starting animation acts a little bit like a dash. Like that. So you can probably do that and, you know, grab them. Like you have like a little bit of distance. Oops, too close or too far. Right, oh, there we go, bam, there, gotcha. So you can surprise your opponents with something like that. Again, this can be done in the air. And this is the reason that anime fighters are oftentimes also referred to as air dashers, because they have the ability to, you have the ability to do dashes in the air as well. So again, yeah. Also, another thing to keep in mind in BlazBlue specifically, I don't know if this is going to be a thing in BlazBlue Crosstag Battle, is the double jump. So most characters in this game have more than one jump. So you can do one jump and then you tap up again and you get another jump. There are some characters that may also have a third jump. That's triple jumping. Keep in mind, if you double jump, you can't dash after it. See? See, I can't dash. You either have the option of jumping once and dashing, or you double jump. That's up to you. That's the decision you have to make up there in the air. Some characters, like Tager, for example, was massive and heavy. They don't have a double jump. And I'll demonstrate that by picking Tager. Now, this is what I like about training mode in BlazBlue Central Fiction. It's so versatile. So you see, he doesn't have a second. He doesn't even have a dash in the air because he's a heavy character like that. See? There we go. Right. So now I'm going to move on to another type of special that you need to be aware of, and that is something that not all characters have, and this is what we call a command throw. So you know the normal throw over here, as you can see, that exclamation point, and this can be broken. You can break a normal throw. This is what we call a normal throw. But Tager and some other characters have another unique special called a command throw, and I'm gonna do my best to do this command throw because I'm terrible at doing 360 motions because they're usually done by doing a circular motion like that. They need to be done very fast. So what I usually do is I jump first, and then, whoops, upon landing, come on.
2 hours later.
I've been pressing the wrong button this whole time. There we go. This is a command throw. And the reason it's called a command throw is because you have to do all of these complex moves. There we go. There we go. Right. So if you want to play characters like this, you might have to... there. Like, you can do things like that. You can mask some of the command behind a... Right. Anyway, that's a command throw. So, finally, going back to Ragna. Right, so we looked at command throws just now, and the last thing I wanted to talk about is combos. And what a combo means is the ability to do moves consecutively in a sequentially, leading to without allowing your opponent the ability to block. So if I do this over here, Jin has no way of blocking until the string is over. The moment he eats the first hit, he has to take the rest of it. There's no way to stop it unless he uses what in BlazBlue is called a burst, but that might not be a mechanic in BlazBlue Crosstag Battle. So there are different kinds of combos in BlazBlue, and in most anime fighters, there's the existence of what we call Gatling. And the reason it's called Gatling is because you can basically rapid push A, B, C, D, like this, A, B, C, D, and you'll get a combo. It's just going to string together. There's no need to get too hung up on timing. Like, see here, A, B, C, D. If I mash the D, it's not going to come out because the C is a bit of a slower move. But if I wait a little bit, I can actually get the D as well. So this is a Gatling, and this is something unique to anime fighters, and most anime fighters kind of have this, so you can do a sequence of either ABC or ABCD, that kind of thing. That's a Gatling. Now, if I want to follow up my Gatling with a special, what I need to do is I need to cancel the last hit of my Gatling or any normal attack. Like this C over here, I cancel it into Inferno Divider here. I just need to input the command for Inferno Divider in such a way that it will cancel the recovery animation of the animation of the standing C here into that. So I can either do it after just like I'm poking my opponent here. See, it's like with this long range normal, I'm poking, and I see that it registers a hit. I could go into like something like that. Well, that didn't really combo, but that's fine. You got to make sure, in order to understand if you've comboed, is if you see this number accumulating over there. That's the important thing. As you can see, I can also do this with a super, or a distortion drive, as they're called in this game. Yeah, and that is canceling, basically, canceling. Now, I'm briefly going to touch on this other little concept of combos called linking. Linking is far more different than Gatling or canceling, because what happens is with linking is you have to wait for the entire animation of a move to finish before unleashing the next one. I don't think this is a link over here that I'm doing. I don't think it's possible to do that, but it's a concept that exists in some fighting games, so I don't know if it's going to be a part of BlazBlue Crosstag Battle or not, but yeah, that's something for also you guys to keep in mind. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That is the lot of the terminology I wanted you guys to understand here. So you have a little bit of a basic understanding of the words and the jargon that is used for fighting games. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. I'm planning on doing a few more videos of this, and we're gonna dive into some other concepts. If you have any questions, please be sure to leave them in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, please leave it a like because it helps my channel a lot. And if you're enjoying my content, please consider subscribing. And I will catch you next time.